Welcome back to another episode of Light Beer, Dark Money. I'm Sean Noble.
And I'm Chris Clements.
And it's Tim Walz.
It's Tim doing the waltz.
Doing the waltz. So
the Minnesota waltz.
Yes, it is Tuesday.
The Minnesota
August 6th.
socialism waltz.
Yeah. Well,
socialism is just another name for neighbor.
Yeah, apparently.
Just another name.
It is. So it's Tuesday, August 6th. We typically do Thursday. We didn't do last Thursday, so we're doing Tuesday. We'll be back with you on Thursday. We're talking about other things, but this is good timing because this morning, Vice President Kamala Harris, not presumptive, she is now officially the nominee.
She's officially the nominee by voice vote on a phone call.
Yeah.
So 15 million Democrats across the fruited plain have been disenfranchised, just like that.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
By Barack Obama and his merry men.
But democracy.
But democracy lives on.
Democracy.
It's all about democracy.
That's right.
And it's all about saving democracy. That's what they keep saying.
Right. So what's fascinating about this pick is that I was pretty much set believing that it was going to be Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania because that made the most sense to me.
Yeah, but weren't that would have made the most sense.
And it still makes the most sense, but
say it.
The online world, the progressives, they own it.
Say why he wasn't
selected. Because he's Jewish.
Because he's a Jew.
The Hamas wing of the Democrat Party
he wrote a paper when he was 20 basically saying that the two-state solution is unworkable because the Palestinians are so radicalized that they'll never accept it.
Right.
Which is absolutely correct.
Yeah, it's true.
Even all these years later.
Still true.
And he's only a couple of years younger than us.
That's right.
And still, all these years later, anyone who's been to Israel understands that he's absolutely correct.
Yeah, this is so Kamala has been enjoying quite the honeymoon.
17 days without answering one question.
No press avail, but she's just cruising, and there's enthusiasm, and there's money being raised, and I view this as her first real big unforced error.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh Shapiro.
Do you think she actually made the decision?
I do.
You do?
I do think that she's...
There's some speculation online in the internets that she did not make this decision. No, it was made for her.
Well, I think she...
Because the extreme nature of Josh Shapiro. He's such an extremist.
Well, look, Kamala is very progressive.
Yes.
Josh Shapiro makes her uncomfortable.
Yes.
Because he's not as progressive.
Well, and he is ambitious in his own right.
Yes, he is.
And let's remember, and we gave him props on this show several weeks ago, that during the assassination attempt, which it was an assassination attempt of President Trump, despite what the internets would love to believe, he actually showed some leadership. He actually set the right tone for his state in terms of the gravity of what had happened and what they were dealing with, with people who had been afflicted.
Right.
And it was really, I thought, how could she not pick him?
Well, that's when I got worried because I was like, man, she picks him.
18 electoral votes.
That puts Pennsylvania.
61% approval rating.
Yeah. I mean, that.
How does that happen?
And with Pennsylvania, I mean, Pennsylvania's the game, really, this time. You know, if she wins Pennsylvania, Trump probably loses.
Yeah, and that's not to say that he still won't work for her in many ways, but I think this is a big slight on him.
Yeah, and it is clearly a move to appease the hardcore
the Somalis in Minnesota.
Yeah, the hardcore progressive base, which I just find amazing.
The alien Omars.
That she would rather quell any opposition from the left than win.
But at the same time, the last 17 days, what we have seen has been this press lovingly referring to her as this moderate, as this, her entire record has been whitewashed over the last several weeks. And this, if this was her pick, if this is the person that she wants, this shows her true colors.
Yeah.
And they make a great pair for one reason. And that's the Black Lives Matter riots.
Well,
which he allowed to rip through Minneapolis, and then she went ahead and bailed most of those people out.
Yeah, she supported literally bailing out the rioters.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because just as Trump picking Vance prior to Biden dropping out seemed like, because Trump was riding high, this is going to be let's do the comfortable pick, the one that I'm comfortable
Glenn
with.
Youngkin or something like that.
Yeah, a Youngkin would have been smart. A Marco Rubio would have been smart. But those are more uncomfortable for Trump because they're not Trumpy, right?
They're not.
JD was very much a part of the Trump, ecosystem.
Yeah.
Best friends with Don Jr., blah, blah, blah. So this was the easy pick, not the greatest pick. Not the addition pick, just the safe pick, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's what she did. She's riding high. I don't need to stretch. I can just take what I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
And so she picks this, and I'm telling you, it's gonna.
It undermines the entire media narrative that she's positioning herself to the middle of the electorate.
I think so. I think it undermines that for sure.
She absolutely is now saying, no, I'm a Marxist, I'm a socialist, because that's essentially I'm picking someone in the same vein as a Bernie Sanders.
Yeah,
who's in favor of the same things. He's passed legislation within his state. I think he issued over 100 executive orders during COVID, with locking people down, mandating masks. This is the most radical ticket that we've ever had.
This is the most radical, progressive, leftist ticket we've ever had.
Progressive Democrats. Republicans, repeat after us. Progressive Democrats. Don't use the word the left. Nobody knows what you're talking about.
Well, the
people like us, but the uninitiated,
but not the people who are going to
not
decide
the people
the election.
who are going to decide. They're going to wake up 2 weeks before the election and realize there is an election.
And then so that gets to Kamala's been riding high. The Trump campaign's been flailing on trying to. I mean, Trump has inexplicably gone off message, talking about, is she Indian or is she black? She was Indian and now she turned black. I mean, dude, everybody understands what biracial is. I mean, come on. This is stupid. You're taking all of those discussions hurt us because the record that she has, the political philosophy that she holds is what needs to be run on.
Absolutely.
I mean, she is so far to the left of, she is way more liberal than most of America.
What I'm not understanding, and you've given great props to the Trump campaign in terms of their organization. What I'm not understanding, and maybe you can answer this or somebody can answer this, is how they're acting like they're being caught off guard. Like they're flat-footed that Joe Biden would be pushed out. That's insane to me. Well, everyone knew that he was never going to make it.
Not everyone.
Well,
we did.
I mean, anyone who was paying attention.
But that's the thing is that.
But there was always a possibility either she or to your other point, Michelle Obama or somebody would come in, and I think a lot of people just believe the poll numbers that she was below Biden, and so why would they ever pick her? But there's 200 million reasons why they picked her, and I think the sheen and the gloss is going to wear off. And I think for two reasons. One, Joe Biden is still the president. He's not going anywhere, and he's still going to dither and dather and blather his way until November 5th. Secondly, the world is on fire.
Yeah.
The economy is about to melt down, and the world is on fire, and they own it. Kamala owns it. She can't run away from it, and eventually she's going to have to answer questions on their policies.
Right. Because it is her policies. I mean,
it is her policy.
It's their administration.
I heard an analysis today that you can't have it both ways. You can't be the last person in the room and not know what's going on.
Yeah.
And not take ownership for it. You can't be a fresh face and something new and something shiny and gleamy and clean and not have your hands dirty in all the policies that have destroyed the country.
Exactly. And to your point about the Trump campaign looking like it's been caught off guard,
Unbelievable.
I feel like there was I think their hope got a little bit ahead of their reality, which is they really wanted Biden to stay on as the candidate. And I mean, that wasn't going to happen.
But they don't need to be fearful of going after Kamala
No.
or Kamala the chameleon
they
on the policies she prescribes, which are Marxist.
Right. And that's the thing, is that she is a riper target than Biden. Biden was easier to hit because of his cognitive decline. But the policies of Kamala,
you can't run against somebody just on their cognitive decline.
Right. And
you can't make that the campaign. And that was the danger that the Trump campaign was making. You can't just sit there and say, well, he's
too
declining, he's too old, and by the way, you know, we don't really know, we don't really have a vision for the country. You have to articulate your vision for the country, at the same time tell the American public why their policies are ruining the country.
Right.
Which they are.
Yeah. They are.
We saw it 2 days ago with a 1,000-point meltdown in the stock market because we have too much money chasing too few goods.
Yeah.
You know, we're still inhabiting a world of 20% inflation and 40% inflation on some goods, and people are hurting, and now the market is starting to feel it.
Yeah, the market is catching up to the economy.
Yes.
And that's going to be painful. It's going to be tumultuous for a little while.
For a lot of people.
And so, yeah, strap in. But so, yeah, it'll be interesting to watch how the Walz pick, you know, plays out. There's definitely some Democrats who are unhappy because they really thought that Shapiro gave Kamala a better shot.
Oh, most definitely. And I think there were moderate Republicans who would have vocally crossed over, and still might, for somebody like Walz, which is bizarre, but would have felt more comfortable crossing
for
over
Shapiro, for sure.
For Shapiro,
yeah.
than for a Walz.
Yeah. The loser in all this, our own Mark Kelly.
Where is Mark Kelly?
That's a good question.
Where is he? Do we have that graphic?
So I described Mark Kelly to somebody as great on paper, but not really, you know, firing up the troops.
I was puzzled as to why Mark Kelly was even mentioned in the same vein as some of these other people.
It was,
other than the safetiness of it, or the perceived safetiness of it.
Yeah, I was, when his name first got floated, I was like, what?
Well, maybe they could, you know, we haven't seen Kamala Harris much in 17 days. You know, maybe they could just go hide together. That's what I was thinking. You know, where is Kamala? Where is Mark Kelly? And we can keep this going until November 5th.
Well, I mean, they're definitely keeping her locked away. I mean, she hasn't answered any questions, as you pointed out. She's not yet answered one press question.
No, not one.
Not one, which is amazing.
She doesn't want to sit down with Lester Holt again and say that she hadn't been to the border,
right.
But she hadn't been to Europe either.
Right.
And now she's been to El Paso and she's made some trips to Europe, so maybe she can update, you know, their interview just a bit, just a bit.
Just a bit.
Because she was never border czar, but maybe she was.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So this will play out, and obviously this will be a major topic of our conversation.
Oh, this is going to be fun
for the next, you know,
this is going to be fun.
But
the Trump campaign needs to get their footing on this.
They do,
because this is a target-rich environment, and the only one who seems to be speaking clearly, because I've heard some press clips on this today and yesterday, is J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance is the attack dog at some of these rallies and some of these one-offs that he's doing, speaking very clearly of what's ahead of the American people if these two people are elected.
Yeah. That's good.
Which is great. That's what you want.
That's his job.
Because if there's any two people that are the most weird in the campaign, it's Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Yeah. Although, does Tim wear eyeliner?
You know, he supports people who do.
That's true.
Yes.
So he does.
Especially children who want to, parents who want to mutilate their children. He is the king of those policies.
I think that issue is going to
He makes Gavin Newsom look like, you know.
Yeah. That piece is
Mother
be
Teresa.
And we should definitely address that on an upcoming episode. But we had a week ago today.
Yes,
we had a big election here in Arizona.
We did.
We did.
We were both. I think you were here.
And so
Did you vote by mail?
I did vote by mail.
I did too. It seemed like it went okay.
It went great. I got my text from the county that said your ballot's been received, and then I got a text the next day so your ballot's been processed.
And there you go.
We're signature verified and processed. I mean, it works.
Yes.
Unfortunately, in my mind, Stephen Richer lost his primary. I have not been anti-Stephen Richer like a lot of people because I think that this job of being the county recorder is one which is not philosophical, it's administrative, and people who try to inject philosophy into it are going to be woefully. I mean, there's so much misinformation about what the job and what the recorder can do that if Justin Heap, who won the Republican nomination, gets elected in November, there's going to be a lot of disappointed people when they find out that he's not going to be able to do the things that they think he should do. And then he's going to be the pariah.
Yeah, you know? Okay. So I am not a big fan of Stephen. He seems like a generally nice guy, but I think he injects himself into philosophical things that he should not. I was at an event several months ago, and we talked about it on this show. That turned into a campaign event. It was supposed to be an event discussing how our democracy is being threatened. And Stephen Richer was there to discuss how democracy was being threatened. But it turned out to be a Chuck Coughlin love fest about make elections fair. And he knew that. He knew that's what they were going to be pitching. He knew that was the gist of the event, and he was still there. He should not be, my opinion, supporting something like that, an initiative that isn't even on the ballot yet, that he would have purview over as the county recorder. He should not be weighing in on any of that.
Yeah,
and yet he was.
I guess I don't disagree with that.
And that skewed my feelings
front,
about
we're going
Stephen.
to see. There's been a lawsuit that's been filed to challenge that on a single subject rule.
Absolutely.
So we'll see how that plays out. But on the election, so just top line. Carrie Lake beat Mark Lamb. Not a surprise. It was a little closer than people expected.
Not of the margin that she would have liked.
Not of the margin. She got 55% of the vote. So you would think...
What's next for Carrie Lake? The Democrat, another Democrat in the race.
Well, look, if you get 55% of the vote...
You think she gets mad at us when we say that?
I don't know. But the point, here's the unsolicited advice. If you get 55% of the vote, you've got some work to do to bring your base home. And doubling down on the hard, the election denials and that kind of stuff, that's not going to help you. And yet she continues to do that.
She is the expert. Carrie Lake is the expert of election by subtraction.
Yeah. So, there's a article out today.
Do you think any of the people who supported Mark Lamb, and we were openly late supporter of Mark Lamb, will really move over to Carrie?
Some will.
Some will, but I think a lot of them, who she has rubbed the wrong way, will simply just leave it blank or write somebody.
They might, but people need to understand that Ruben Gallego is very liberal.
Very liberal,
and
he is another one who's trying to show himself as this wonderful moderate,
right?
Who's done nothing on the border. He's absolutely for higher taxes, more regulation, more things that would hurt the state of Arizona.
Yeah. So, we'll see now.
And even in the same vein as Kirsten Sinema,
right?
As a maverick.
One interesting tidbit. I tweeted this. Do you know that we have a clear winner, a leader in the Republican Party of the most popular Republican woman in the party?
You mean Kimberly Yee?
No, that was on the ballot. The most popular candidate. Got more votes than anyone else by a mile. Rachel Walden.
Okay.
Corporation Commission. Yeah. Got by far the most popular Republican woman.
And why do you think that?
Well, because she got the more votes than anybody.
But
I think because she probably ran a pretty down the road campaign, down the middle campaign. Just I'm going to be a Republican, not saying crazy stuff.
Not trying to record people
probably doesn't record people.
Yeah, that would be a bad thing. That would be my first advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't record people and then release it to the press because you're paranoid.
I don't know.
You know?
So, Juan Ciscomani won. David Schweikert won.
David won. The turnout of that race was actually quite interesting.
Yes, and that was something I actually wanted to raise, is that in the turnout, if you look at turnout amongst Republicans and Democrats in the state of Arizona, now on the statewide level, you could make the argument that because Gallego did not have a primary and there was a primary in the U.S. Senate, that it's not fair to look at the Republican turnout versus the Democrat turnout at a statewide level. Okay, I'll do that. But if you look at by congressional district, where there are competitive primaries, of which there was basically one, which was the first district, very competitive primary on the Democrat side, like 6 candidates, 6 or 7. And then on the Republican side,
signs everywhere.
Yeah, the Republican side, it was David Schweikert and then two challengers to him. There was significantly more votes cast in the Republican primary in that district than the Democrat primary. So that tells me that there is an enthusiasm gap amongst Democrats.
That's what I saw.
And
because and we're not just talking like along the margins. It was a substantial gap.
When the registration margin is super
almost
tight,
dead even.
I mean, it's almost dead even.
Yeah.
But the turnout gap was significantly bigger, and I think that portends well for Republicans at this point. That the Democrats have a lot of ground to make up to try to juice enthusiasm, because it didn't come to pass.
No, and I don't think their candidate is really going to be one who's going to inspire a lot of people. So, and David, I think, knows the district now and can count. And as he has instructed us and others so many times before, that politics is math. And so he's doing the counting.
Well, but it's not. But I view it as not just his district. I think this is going to be an issue for Democrats across the state. That the turnout issue is going to be a problem, and so
you don't see Kamala, inspiring Kamala the chameleon, inspiring people to turn out in ways that Barack Obama did or Joe Biden did.
I don't think it'll be Barack Obama levels. I mean, I think the machine is going to work hard. You got to give them credit. The Democrats have been working hard in the state of Arizona to do what they need to turn out their vote. I mean, they did it in 2020. They did it in 2022, and they're going to do it again in 2024. Republicans need to match that. They need to lean in on early voting rather than lean in. We saw that even in the early voting. I mean, one of the things that George Califf pointed out, if you look at the tracking, that there was definitely more early voting enthusiasm with Republicans than Democrats, significantly more. We were matching. We were going above 2022 numbers. We weren't matching 2020 numbers, but, not bad. So good for Republicans to kind of get their shit together.
Well, and the top of the ticket will, if they can maintain their enthusiasm and their attack line and not get distracted by things like, biracialism and other things, and they can inspire that turnout.
Yeah. The one interesting race that is yet to be decided is the primary to replace Ruben Gallego in the 3rd congressional district. We had Raquel Turan and Ansari, Yasmin Ansari. Is that anyway? They 42 votes.
Yeah,
separate those two, so they're going into a recount, and this reminds me of when Biggs ran the first time, won by 26 votes.
Yes,
after
he didn't have a problem this time.
No, he was unopposed.
He did not have a problem this time. And then there's the other Republican district primarily, and that's District 8.
Yes, right. Abe Hamada
which was very crowded.
Very crowded and very interesting because you had Abe Hamada, who was endorsed by Trump And then Masters jumped into that race. You had Ben Toma, you had Trent Franks, trying to make a return.
Which was inexplicable.
Literally in the last 3 days or so, Trump endorses Blake Masters in addition to Abe Hamadas.
Both will do great.
A co-endorsement.
Yeah, and so therefore they both were bunched up there at the end.
Yeah, so it was close.
It definitely influenced turnout or people's perceptions.
Probably, but Abe prevailed, and
You think Blake went back to Trump and said, "How could you not endorse me? I'll endorse you and him," and you guys fight it out.
I don't know exactly how that played out. Because keep in mind, Vance had endorsed Blake, months before.
Yeah.
And then Vance becomes the vice president.
And then it becomes this thing.
Maybe there was we got to unify the ticket and, so add Blake to the endorsement list for Trump.
Yeah.
I don't know. So Abe will be the next congressman because that's a very, very Republican district. So congratulations to Abe. I don't think we've seen the last of Ben Toma or Blake Masters.
No, I don't think so.
I think they're both, smart guys who have some ambition, and we'll probably see a campaign from each of them.
Blake is a smart guy. He's a nice guy. He's socially a little awkward, having met him. And I think one thing he really needs to figure out is, he's not from that district. He's from Tucson, from Oro Valley, grew up in Oro Valley. Been very successful as a business person. If he wants to stay in politics, I think he needs to stick with things that he knows. So maybe there's something for him in Pima County, perhaps.
Is there?
I don't know.
How many Republican posts?
But if he's going to keep running in Maricopa County, perhaps he should move to Maricopa County.
Yeah.
And plant his family, get involved in whatever community he decides to live in, and go from there.
Yeah, probably good advice.
Because I don't think much is going to happen in District 4.
Which one's that?
That's with former mayor, Greg Stanton.
Oh, Stanton. Yeah.
I don't think he's going to lose.
Kelly Cooper.
Kelly Cooper won that again.
Again, over Zudy Jasser.
And Zudy was supported by some big shots that we know.
Yeah.
And so kudos to Kelly Cooper.
Yeah.
Who's been on our show once or twice.
And
we wish him well. But I don't know if Stanton's going to lose that. I think it's going to take a ton of money.
Well, it would, and
Stanton hasn't even. There's a guy who hasn't moved out to that district. He's still lives in Central Phoenix.
Right, exactly.
So,
which
is bizarre.
The challenge in that district, because it does lean Democrat, is in a presidential election year. That's going to be making it even tougher. So there's going to be some uphill climb for Kelly Cooper on that one.
Yeah.
But I feel like,
a Blake Masters, with lots of money and endorsements out there in a D+2+3 district, could make a run.
That's true.
Could make a run
next year in an off year, maybe.
An off year, maybe he does it.
Yeah. Okay.
Move out to Chandler, Gilbert. Not a bad place.
Some
to
nice
live.
places there.
Yeah,
he could do that.
He has plenty of money to build whatever house he wants. I would assume.
I think so. I mean, he did spend a little bit in that campaign.
Yes, he did. Anyway, just some unsolicited
thoughts. Other primaries. So Vince Leach won his race against Wadsack.
Yeah, Wadsack.
So
who was such a strange fit for Tucson.
Yeah, well, and it's that is
a Republican in Tucson.
That is
very strange.
That is a very good win for Republicans because Vince Leach has a much better chance of holding that district for Republicans than Wadsack had. I mean, the Democrats, and there was a Politico article yesterday that talked about Democrats lamenting the fact that she lost because they thought that was a pickup opportunity, and it's now going to be very difficult for him to win that.
Because he knows how to campaign. Yeah. That was a big win for him.
And that probably keeps. I mean, I have said to people that it was the most important state legislative race in the state during the primary, because had he lost that primary, that seat was very much at risk of going Democrat. It's now way less at risk. So there's a much better chance that we hold the Senate, because the Democrats would have to win that seat and beat Shauna Bullock.
Yeah.
And I think we can win both Leach and Shauna Bullock. So
Is Shauna going to have enough money?
I think so. I think she's going to have a good campaign. And she's got, they're running as a slate in that district.
Yeah.
She's got a couple guys that are solid campaigners that are running
Well,
in the House.
she knows how to campaign. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, she's got bona fides.
Yeah. She's been at this a long time.
Yeah.
Very long time. So kudos to her.
What other races were interesting?
What's
like
county attorney?
Oh, yeah,
Probably
Rachel Mitchell.
The most, actually, I would say, municipally, the most important race.
Yeah.
Unless we want, Maricopa County to go the way of, Los Angeles.
Right. No, I mean, Rachel Mitchell.
So everyone, I don't care what stripe of Republican you are, MAGA, traditional conservative, Reagan, Kemp, Paul Ryan Republican, you got to support Rachel Mitchell.
Yeah.
Because the alternative is destruction.
Yeah.
Wholesale all
destruction.
over Maricopa County.
Right. We'll have a county attorney who does not want to actually prosecute crime.
No, we'll have New York, and we'll have LA, and we'll have Chicago, and we will be a crumbling city.
Yeah. So kudos to Rachel Mitchell, because that was a really important primary. Good for her to win.
Yeah.
And I don't know what else. That was. I'm sure that there's some things in Scottsdale City Council and Mayor I haven't paid attention.
Did Raul Grijalva win again?
Of course he did. Well, wait a minute. Wasn't he going to retire?
Was he retiring? Because his health is bad.
Yeah. Actually, I guess he didn't. He must be up for re-election. I think I do think that he announced that his cancer was in remission, right?
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I had not heard. We joke about Raul a lot, but I've had nothing but great just sort of interactions with Raul. Over the years.
He and I probably don't agree on.
We don't agree on the 5%? Color of the sky.
Yeah.
But whenever I've been with him and gone to his office on other issues where I've had a chance to sit down with him, he's always well prepared. He knows the issues.
Yeah.
His staff is really friendly and good. All his staff is never. You would think his staff are a bunch of crazies. They're not.
No,
they're very professional and very good.
Yeah. And I would say that, it's interesting. That's one thing I'll say generally about the district staff and state staff of the entire delegation. They're just good professional people.
Yeah. They want to do what's right for the state.
They understand their role is to be.
Well, there's some that probably don't, but
most of
on
them,
on the whole,
I mean, every member has great staff at the state level. I'm sure they have DC staff as well, but where it's constituent services oriented.
Yes.
I mean, we have a great delegation in that regard from that standpoint.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's better than most. I mean, and I think that
it's a good delegation if you can keep it.
I'll give the people I'll give props to for that would be Bob Stump and Dennis DeConcini.
Yes. When we had Lisa Jackson on the show.
I mean, they set the tone for what it means to be constituent service oriented. And that is just, if somebody comes to you with, needing something because the federal government has effed something up, go to work. And they do.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's great.
And they all get it.
Yeah. All of them.
Well, I hope that holds, because it's going to be a volatile election year.
Yeah.
It's a long way to November 5th.
But it's a long way, but I feel like it's going to be here before we know it.
Before we know it.
And
Kamala waltzing with Tim. This is going to be really Kamala, the chameleon.
I'm going to just correct you every time.
That's fine. I kind of agree with Trump on that one issue, and that is, how do you pronounce the woman's name?
And we know, because we know. But like I said, I think that those that mispronounce her name are undermining the argument that she's just bad on policy.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't matter her ethnicity, what her name is. She is terrible on policy.
Her gender.
And we need to lean in. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We need to lean in on how freaking liberal progressive she is.
Oh my gosh, it's off the charts.
It is. I mean, I don't say this lightly, and people need to understand this, that when you think about national tickets, this is the most liberal progressive ticket that we have seen. This is more progressive than McGovern.
Oh, easily. 1972.
Yeah.
Whoops. Yeah.
I mean, it is amazing how out of the mainstream this ticket is.
Yeah. And I still think it's Trump's to lose.
I do too.
I really do.
I do think he's working at it.
Yes. We saw that this last week. But I think he'll get his footing. I think J.D. Vance is going to surprise a lot of people.
I hope so. I hope so.
Certainly on the stump this last week, I think he's been excellent. Yeah. I mean, his attack lines against the vice president, and now he'll have some hardened attack lines against Tim Walz.
Well, and I will say
will be welcome.
That what I and this would definitely been true with Shapiro, but JD needs to get prepared for the debate because Walz is not going to be.
Oh no, he's not
pushover.
Lay down. He's very smart.
He's a smart guy. He's very liberal.
Very liberal.
But
very
he's a 6-term congressman. He's been a governor for 2 terms. I mean, he's been
in the National Guard for like 23, 24
well, there's
years.
some sketchiness.
There's some sketchiness how he left.
Yeah, he bailed out on his.
He bailed out when they were being deployed to Iraq.
Right. He decided, I'm going to run for Congress.
Yeah,
I'm out.
Yeah,
so.
And that did not sit well.
I think
that did not sit well with his platoon.
Yeah, and I saw an interview. There was a guy who was his replacement. That's an interesting person to be. You're getting a lot of spotlight on that guy right now.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting because I think that's a pretty interesting juxtaposition with Vance, who went.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He hammered both of them on that. This either today or yesterday. I heard a sound bite on that about what serving your country is really all about.
Yeah.
And this attack line that he's going to be a puppet of Donald Trump and he's disloyal to the country. And we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah. And if I were Trump, I would debate Kamala every day.
Kamala. Okay. Let me go here.
I would debate the crazy cat lady every day of the week. Okay.
Yeah, you can call her crazy cat lady. I think that they should have debates. I also think that there was reports about how she was going to take the ABC time. Trump doesn't want to do the ABC one. ABC was going to give her 90 minutes. I was like, please. Good friend of the show, Chuck Warren, pointed it out. Please give her 90 minutes without a teleprompter and let her just talk.
Yeah.
And let's see what happens. He's got a good point. There's no way she sustains 90 minutes.
No way.
She just can't.
No. Word salad sandwich all night long. I mean, she got off the teleprompter the other day on the when they welcomed home the prisoners from Russia.
Oh, we need to talk about the hostages.
Okay, but the hostages from Russia and that whole. I mean, there's mixed feelings about how that took place and how that was done, but. She got off message the other day, and it was brilliant. Well, it was lovely. It was word salad sandwich in the raw.
This explains the importance of diplomacy for the sake of diplomacy.
Diplomacy of the diplomacy.
Yeah, it was not the best look typically, but to that point, thank goodness these folks are home. I mean, I'm sad that we didn't get everybody. We still have a number of Americans being held by Russia. Not as high profile. We did, it frustrates me that we give up, we get back journalists and a consultant, and I can't remember what the woman's story was, and we give up just hardened criminals, right?
But this is going to continue. This is going to continue. One of the things this is not diplomacy. This is blackmail, and this is the problem that you have with this. With this administration, they're feckless and they're weak, and they don't carry a big stick when it comes to any type of real diplomacy.
Well, look,
the fact that they're admonishing Israel for killing 2 butchers, and we need restraint. We need restraint is ridiculous.
How crazy was this story, though, man? I mean,
ridiculous.
To have the head of Hamas go to Iran
Kaboom.
For the inauguration, and what I thought it was a missile strike, but it turns out that that the Israelis had gotten a bomb planted in the guest house
because he had stayed there several times, and they knew that, and they had planted it months before, months before.
Just waiting.
Kaboom.
And he got there. It was just like, that's freaking amazing.
Awesome.
It's amazing.
Don't mess with the IDF.
Well, and
I mean,
about surgical strike.
You got to give credit where credit is due. That was brilliant.
Well, and it's important because this guy has been responsible for so much bloodshed.
And yet you have this Harris and the Walzes,
apologists for
Hamas.
Yeah.
And that is going to play in this election. The apologist for our enemies is going to play in this election. And it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Kaboom.
Yeah.
That was
it'll be interesting to see. By the time we get back together again in 2 days, it very well could be that Iran and Hezbollah have responded to some of these attacks, because Israel took out the head of Hezbollah.
Yeah.
Took out the head of Hamas. Took out one of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard guys. So they've had 3 high-profile kills in the last week or so.
Oh, yeah.
So there's going to be some response, and things are a little dicey over there.
The world is burning, and the crazy cat lady is cackling.
Well, it will be. We have a lot to pray for.
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah, pray for our country, for sure.
Exactly. Well,
we've got so much more.
We do.
We haven't even talked about the Olympics.
Well, so I was
and
thinking,
the opening ceremony.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
So let's
boxing, female boxing. Should we talk about that on Thursday?
On Thursday, yes.
Yeah.
We're going to do an Olympic show on Thursday. We're going to talk about
along with other things.
But we're definitely going to talk about opening ceremony. We're going to talk about boxing, female boxing. We're going to talk about how the United States is kicking ass.
Yeah.
I mean, gold.
Despite the fact that NBC's
silver,
ratings are in the tank.
No. I thought this was the highest ranked.
Has it been?
I think it's the highest rated Olympics ever. And I think it's because of the way that they're doing. I think they're doing a pretty good. I will push back on your comment, because I think they're doing a pretty good job at the coverage. Because
they're not diving into the controversy. They're avoiding it.
Well, yeah.
Which they should.
But look, NBC had nothing to do with the opening.
No.
Ceremony. I mean,
demonic opening ceremonies that the Pope finally got around to condemning.
Look, you do an opening ceremony in France, in Paris. Of course, it's going to be weird. Of course, it's going to be.
If you want
weird.
to talk about weird,
yeah. Well, that's the other thing.
Go.
So the whole Democrat lean in on J.D. Vance is weird, Trump is weird. Harris and Walz,
really weird.
There's going to be some stuff that's pretty
really weird. I mean, don't be projecting.
Yeah, right.
And Walz was the one who coined that term, and the stuff that's going to come out of his policy prescriptions and what he's done to Minnesota, very weird.
Yeah.
Incredibly weird.
He's going to rue the day.
Like uber weird.
Yeah.
And the normies are not going to gravitate towards that at all.
Until next time, stay normal.
Yeah, stay normal. God bless.
All right, see ya.